Janet, thank you so much for being here with us on Untold Secrets of Living Overseas, number 5. I'm just so excited that you took time out of your day. I don't even know what time it is in Portugal right now. Is it evening?
7:15 in the evening.
7:15 in the evening. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to really talk to us about the healthcare in Portugal and what your experience has been, and also like how you've been helping others in terms of like so others can be advocates for themselves in this very new, like unpredictable space that it's very concerning for a lot of Americans moving
Yeah.
abroad. So I'd love for you to properly tell us, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you come from the healthcare space yourself from back in the US. So can you kind of let us know how you got to Portugal and also, what your background is before
Sure,
we jump into
absolutely.
the
Yeah, I'll
great
just
questions?
jump in.
Yeah.
Um, so I lived in the US until 17 months ago. And I'm a second generation American who's now left America and immigrated back to Europe. But I grew up in Ohio, was in California, and then I was in Austin, Texas the past 27 years before we left. And I'll get to how we ended up here. But my background, I was a registered nurse and I practiced nursing for 21 years. And then I actually left nursing formally and I went into the coaching space in the age of when I'd go networking and they say, what do you do? Well, I'm a coach. And people go, what sport? Because it was so new
Right.
that, but the interesting thing is they mirrored together. So my last jobs, I worked for the state of California doing high risk infant follow-up care
Wow.
and teaching parents to advocate for their children in a medical system that is fractured. So coaching was like a natural thing for me. So I was a coach for lots more years, 20, I don't know, 27. And I've done 2 TED Talks, I've written a book, and I worked with executive women. And
Wow.
part of my whole platform, which comes into why I left the US, is I was out to end the gender gap, both in pay and in influence. And I used to say in my lifetime till the past few years happened. And
Wow.
that's part of what had me. I both ran to and ran away. And that's part of the runaway, honestly. But I still am somebody who advocates. And I'm not anti men in the workplace, but women are disadvantaged. And I was trying to give women, confidence. And that same paradigm happens now. All of a sudden, we're new, we're Americans. We don't speak the language. We don't know the system. So I'm still, even though it's not my profession, I am reformata. I am retired.
Yes.
Um, I am still out to empower people in whatever they have to do. And for now, it's Americans in Portugal,
Yeah.
people moving, or I know that on this, that there are people that are going other places. It doesn't matter. You are a foreigner in a
Exactly.
foreign system. So that's kind of a little bit of my background. I've been married 36 years. My husband and I are here in Portugal. We have 2 kids. My daughter, son-in-law, and granddaughter are coming in a month for the first time ever in Europe. And my younger daughter's getting married in California September 1st this year. So
Oh,
we'll be going back.
congratulations.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Well, it sounds like you've done so much in your life and it's so interesting that coaching space and really like empowering people, and then like obviously your background in the as an RN now is helping. I know you've collaborated like even on the ground in Portugal because you've had this experience of uprooting your entire life, moving to a new place. You live in Nazaré, right?
I do.
She lives right on the coast where those
I
big
live on
waves
a
are.
cliff
Wow.
overhanging the marina with a 180-degree ocean view.
Oh, that's amazing.
with the most beautiful sunsets you've ever seen. We call it the nightly show.
Yeah. You sent me the last call we had, you sent me
Yeah.
the picture. That was gorgeous.
It was. That was a very good show. Not all shows are nice.
Yeah. Some
You
can
know?
be rainy and windy.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, one other thing I wanted to add about, I'm somebody, so I said I left nursing, but I read 3 medical periodicals every single day. I've still kept up with it because medicine is still part of my heart and soul. And then with coaching, I have like 6 certifications. So I'm an educated an educator,
Wow.
both ends, because I think the more knowledge you have, the more power you have, and the more you can get in partnership with people trying to accomplish whatever it is you're out to accomplish. So
Yeah.
that's kind of
And
that
that's
piece.
what I love is how you've, even though you're retired, you're still like giving, you're still trying to help foreigners with navigate this system as an advocate. So can you kind of tell us like what does that even mean? Why is it important for us to be advocates? And what does the healthcare system look like in Portugal compared to the US?
So first of all, even in the US, in fact, I would almost say more now so than any other time, you have to be your own medical advocate. So, I'm of a certain age, I'm of retirement age. So when we grew up, it was the doctor, the doctor's smarter than everybody. And you just went to the doctor and they told you everything. Well, in today's world, I'm going to speak US first and then cross over to what it's like here. In today's world, they're on a schedule. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, come in, tell me that, I'll take care of that. They aren't looking at the whole of you, and they're getting people in and out. So if you aren't an advocate tuned into your body, aware of what things might be going on or what might be causing things like, oh, wow, I make a silly one, but I changed detergents. I have this rash. Well, maybe it's because you changed detergents. So thinking through things, but coming to the doctor fully prepared with all of your concerns, but also all of the situations in your life and what's going on.
Yeah.
So I think you really have to be an advocate. And now here, way different.
In Portugal,
So
in
in
Europe.
Portugal,
Okay.
in Europe in general, my next door neighbor, who we're very good friends, is German. So the German system is a little bit different. And I have friends that are British. It's a little different, but it still has similarities. So on one hand, doctors here are, not used to being questioned, but will get in partnership with you. I have found just incredible experience because I'm in partnership with them, giving them what they need, answering questions, saying yes or no. They are incredibly respectful.
Okay.
The biggest difference is they take whatever time you need.
I love that. Wow.
Yes.
It's so true, right? In Spain as well. They're not rushing you out.
Well, I want to give a contrast of a story.
Yes, please.
So yeah, this is several years ago. I was probably 55 or so, and I went to the doctor, and I'm very healthy for the most part, and I don't go to the doctor for a cold or any little thing. I only go when I need to, but basically once a year. So I go to the doctor. I have my list of concerns and considerations and questions I have. After 3, she goes, "Oh no, you only get 3 questions." I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "No, that's all you're allowed. You'll have to make another appointment."
And this was in
Now,
Austin. Was that back in Texas?
that was in Austin, yes. This
Wow.
doctor ended up leaving medicine because of it, because she could no longer practice holistic medicine. But that contrasted to the doctor that we go to here in a private hospital or a private clinic. She sat down. I'll talk about my form later, but I had the whole history and physical. My husband and I went in together because we had back-to-back appointments. We went through each of our systems, all of our questions, all of our concerns. She wrote prescriptions, she wrote orders for, tests, and said, go see this doctor. Here's who I recommend for, cardiology, et cetera, et cetera. She saw us, we were in there together for an hour and a half.
Wow.
45 minutes each. And we've been back, and it's the same thing. So on one hand, doctors are often late here. They were in the US too. But I have a lot more room for it because I know the person before me got taken care of, like I'm going to get taken care of.
I agree. And you feel you feel a comfort level. You don't feel like they're rushing you out. I mean, I have the same experience. I have a herniated disc in my neck. And when that happened, I was on private as well as the public healthcare system. I am on the private and public in Spain. Yeah. And both systems did not rush me out. They stayed until I was clear. The public is a little bit more difficult because you do need to like know the language, but the private, I haven't actually tried speaking in English because I speak Spanish. So I'm curious to know what your experience has been as well from those standpoints. Is like, what is it going to be? What are some misconceptions, and how can we break some of these misconceptions about the healthcare systems in Portugal? Like, do you have to speak Portuguese?
You do not.
Okay.
Now, I think your point is exactly the case here. The public system is much more Portuguese dependent.
Yes.
But you almost always can find someone. They'll just say, no following English, and go get somebody.
Okay.
I find that at the vet even. So I'll call and I'll, speak in English. And she goes, hold on, puts the phone down, goes and gets somebody who speaks English, or the person calls me back who speaks English. But that is the case as well in the public system for the most part. The other thing is translators. I mean, I've had plumbers too. We just write in the translation and people will work with you. Now, we are taking Portuguese. We have a tutor twice a week. We're not very good at it.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's going to take a long time. It's not an easy language to learn. And at our age as well, we're not as open to learning a language, but we're trying, and they appreciate that. The worst thing you can do is, okay, I got a little Portuguese, and you speak to them in Portuguese and they speak back and you go, because you don't understand anything because they talk really fast. They merge all their words together, and it's like, no, slow down. Yeah. So in the couple things, like in the private system, we're personally at the system of CUF. So that's one of the private systems. We have had no trouble. CUF. It's CUF. I don't know what it stands for.
CUF is private. What about that private system?
Everybody there, in the doctors and the nurses, somebody is speaking English. Okay. Our doctor speaks 7 languages.
Wow.
Yeah, so she's great. And as we're talking through things, because she knows I'm a nurse, she's showing me, my husband was sick and he went and had an x-ray, and she's showing me, we're talking about the structures, and then she's trying to speak a word. She doesn't know it in English, but she's pointing to it and I'm giving it to her in English. So we actually are working together.
That's cool.
Which I think is delightful. Yeah. Our intention is to get there, but we're not there now. But no, I think the biggest misconception is you will be lost if you can't speak Portuguese, except if you're in a very rural area, much less English is spoken.
Right.
But you'll get to the doctors that you need.
Yeah. Now, I am so happy we're talking about the misconception thing. And thank you for sharing your story, because, okay, so a lot of people that are tuning in right now, and on the past summits, a lot of the questions I've gotten from the healthcare landscape across Europe is, how can I make this move? We have a lot of folks tuning in that are 50 and over, a lot of folks that are in retirement age, or, and so a lot of people with pre-existing conditions. What do you have to say about that? Because this is actually holding in their mind a lot of people back. They're like, how am I going to leave my good doctors? Like, I have a client who he has a spinal issue, people have all sorts of things. I mean, I have a herniated disc. If I still had this excruciating pain, which I've been able to manage, I would be really nervous too to maybe leave my doctors in the US. But what do you have to say about that? And maybe if it's not from your experience, like other folks you've met that had serious conditions, diabetes, spinal issues, neurological issues, chronic illnesses, like how are you seeing them pivot and be able to surrender and say, okay, we're going to make this work? What's your like advice for them?
Well, a couple good things is in the US, we're taught that this is the best medical care. But if you look at the statistic, it is not. And the medical care here is excellent. I've gone in, I'm going to circuitously answer and include some other stuff. So I've gone in and I, was having my yearly mammogram. And I was talking to the doctor as she's doing an ultrasound because they automatically include an ultrasound. And we were talking about medicine here and some of the things, and some of the equipment's different, and some of the equipment is what I would call older. And one of the things she said, she was just brilliant. She said, yeah, I went to basically a summit. It's called a Congress where they're presenting papers. And she said, and the person who was presenting on risk management, of course, was an American. Because in America, they practice preventative risk medicine. So they're trying not to get sued. So if I started then looking at the equipment, like a syringe or something that has what I would call an old-fashioned cap, why did they create the other caps? Risk management, so people didn't sue. And so you start looking at that and you go, is the care compromised at all? And you have to say, absolutely not. And some of the stuff, I had an MRI that was much more advanced than anything I'd ever seen in the US. So some is ahead, some is a little different. Some meds aren't here, but then there's a different medication for it. So there's differences. But so you asked me how we ended up here. I'm going to come back to this whole thing.
Yeah.
So in 2018, we did a river cruise, and we have been coming to Europe since 2000 and love Europe. We were on a river cruise in 2018 and said, let's retire to Europe. And then in 2020, the year of what I call the year of hell, I was falling a lot, and it turned out I had a brain tumor. I'm fine. It was a non-cancerous brain tumor, but it was in a very bad spot. Wow. So I had to undergo, brain surgery in the middle of the pandemic. My husband wasn't even allowed to come into the hospital. Poor guy had to sit in a hotel room. And it was in a spot where if he took it all, I would have lost my vision and my memory. So he didn't. And then I had to go through radiation. So we actually had to move from Austin to Houston for 6.5 weeks to go through radiation. It's not a pleasant procedure, but I'm fine.
Wow.
But there's a 1 to 3% chance of recurrence. So you're talking about pre-existing conditions, which is why I'm bringing this up. That was my biggest concern, because the hospital bill, not the doctor's bill, the hospital bill, which we had insurance, was $198,000.
Wow.
From Houston for 50 hours. And I thought, well, if something happens to me, I can't afford that. So we have an insurance. There's several insurances that cover you. It depends on your age too, what you're going to pay, but cover you with pre-existing conditions.
In Portugal?
In Portugal. So the one we're on is MGen Advanced Care, and there's a couple others. I can give you the insurance guy's name that was so good. He really educated us, because there's insurance and then there's discount programs, and people mix them up.
Okay.
And I wanted full insurance. So we had this insurance, and it had a 365-day waiver for certain conditions that we had to wait. One of which was my brain tumor. But I'm like, well, I have to have an MRI. Oh, no, they'll pay for all of that. It's just if you had a recurrence of it, that it isn't going to be paid for. But they will still take care of you, and then we'd end up in the public system. So it's not like, because we have both aspects of it. We have private insurance, we have public.
Right.
I mean, it's just my own feeling. Two reasons that we stay in the private system. One, I'm not Portuguese. I haven't paid into this for my whole life, and I can afford private. So I'm going to go to the private. That's a respectful thing. The other thing is the public system here is overwhelmed. It takes a long time to get a primary doctor. I want what I want when I want it.
Right.
I'm going to get that in the private system. But if need be, something serious happens, you're going to end up in the public system, which is still excellent care.
Right.
So,
yeah. And if we're talking like emergencies, Janet, which I have experience with this, it's pretty much the same across Spain and other countries. We're kind of balancing between the public and the private. Like, honestly, in Spain, it's a little bit different because you said it's hard to get primary care doctors. The public is really good with that. Like, right when you get your lease and you register with the city hall and you have your, social security number, and you go to your local health clinic for your zip code of where you live, they do assign you to a primary doctor. A lot of times they will if you have like a bronchitis or strep throat, I actually go to my public because it's a little bit quicker than the private. But that's Spain. And I always get seen the same day or the next day for that. Maybe I think I have strep or I need antibiotics or whatever. And the private I'm using mainly for my checkups, the women's wellness exams, all those other things that are
right.
a little bit more serious, or, maybe I had tonsillitis and I want to get my tonsils removed. I'm going to go see the ENT. That's going to be through private. But the public is great for these emergency situations, hospital care. You get seen. I mean, we can't say it depends on what it is. If you can't breathe or you're having a heart issue, they will see you right away. Now, if you have an ear infection and you're not in excruciating pain and it's not life-threatening, you might have to wait for like an hour or 30, 45 minutes.
That's the same. You can go to the Saúde, which is the health clinic here. You can go for that kind of thing. I'm just saying in terms of people who are listening to this that, have a heart condition or a past history of cancer, if you end up having recurrence, you're going to end up in the public system because that's where the good care is. I mean, University of Coimbra and Lisbon and Porto all have phenomenal high centers where you can get the care you need.
Right.
So that's I think the important point. The other thing, just to give you a realm of costs.
Oh, yeah.
So my husband had a hernia. Now, for whatever reason, he never had it before, but he got a hernia last year, and they don't cover hernias in the first year.
Right.
So
he goes to
365-day
waiting period for some of those like certain conditions.
And so we went to the hospital, doctor, then he went to the hospital. He spent the night, he had surgery, and of course it's cash. Do you know how much that cost us?
No, how much?
1,800 euros.
Wow. For the surgery and the hospital bill?
Everything.
Oh my gosh.
We had a friend who fell. He's an older man, and he fell, and he got taken by an ambulance to the hospital in Leiria, which is 20 minutes away, seen in the ER, had a CAT scan or an MRI, I think. His bill was 126 euros.
Wow. With that's with the ambulance and everything.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is that it's like, well, there's certain things that might be excluded, but it's so reasonable to get yourself treated here and treated well.
And if we can even just talk about if somebody came on vacation, they're on a scouting trip and they wanted to go check out the doctors over there to get, ease some of the anxiety or some of the misconceptions, just to like see what it's like. You could go pay a private doctor. I've done this before without insurance in Spain when I was in a limbo period of my visa renewal with my husband because he was going to be sponsoring me. I remember paying out of pocket, I think it was 50 euro to see a private doctor with no insurance. So like a lot of you could do that. Like if you're you know, kind of apprehensive because you have these pre-existing conditions, go do some calls and maybe you can set up a doctor's appointment for when you're doing your scouting trip, somebody that speaks English. They can prescribe you medicine. And then you can go check out that process. I mean, I have people that I've worked with that are on Eliquius, which is I think it's a blood pressure medication.
Mhm.
Paying an arm and a leg in America for this. I think it's $500 to $1,000 a month for their supply. In these other countries, it's like significantly less, like 100 and less per month for the same
Yeah.
amount of
Oh,
medication.
yeah,
So, I mean, you could test out those types of things on your scouting trips. I
absolutely.
think that would be pretty smart. And can you kind of talk to us about what it's like when you get medication? Are you going through public? Are you going through private? Is it just you go
I've
to
done both.
the Yeah.
So before I had my, health card, we went and we would pay cash, retail, and then we would submit it to our insurance and get the money back. And now we're on public, but I still am like, we've been here 17 months. I'm still like, really? Are they going to come back and charge us more? This is like 10 cents. And there's one medication I'm on that retail in the US is over $800.
Wow.
In Portugal, when I was paying retail for it, it's 115. Same medication, same drug company, US based.
Wow.
And now on the health system, I pay 11 euros.
Wait, so it went from 115, like just out of pocket with no insurance? Or if you wanted to get that reimbursed, you probably could with private.
Yeah, I got most of it reimbursed, that
And
80%.
but you're saying if you just went with your public health care card, which all of you can get as soon as you're a permanent resident in your country with your social security number, you have your correct numbers set up and you have your residence permit, you have you're living in a location, you can get this health card. In Spain, it's depends on where you live, but we call it what do we call it? Think we call it like our CAP card. I think that's what it is. But we normally just say, where's your tarjeta? Like, where's your card when
Yeah,
they ask you for your information when you're checking
yeah.
in. So I'm forgetting what it's called, but all of you can get this card and typically you show it to the pharmacy if that public doctor has called it in. But honestly, they
Ours
don't
is
even check
actually
in.
on an app now.
Oh,
We have
you're on
it
an
on an app and they just scan it and it's all in the system and it charges you. I mean, we've gotten like 2 months worth of prescriptions, maybe 5 or 6, and it's like 80 euros.
Wow.
It's you now know how much money somebody is making, big pharma in the
Right.
US,
Oh yeah, for sure.
And the same thing, veterinary
Yeah.
costs are, I have a dog, and veterinary costs are ridiculously
Wow.
low. I had her teeth cleaned, if anybody knows what you pay for a dog, because they put them to sleep. I paid over $700 last time. So she had her teeth cleaned a few weeks ago. And I, went to pick her up and check her out. And they said it's 62 euros. I'm like, what?
Oh, 700 back in the US for the sedation and the cleaning. Oh,
And
wow.
62 euros. I go, what? And I think she thought I thought it was too much. She goes, yes, under anesthesia.
Oh,
I was like, this has got to be a mistake.
that's interesting because that's happened to me too, where I've been shocked at the cost being so low and they've been like, is everything okay? Yeah, it's like they think we're thinking it's too high. It's just such a different world out there. And that's I'm so happy we're talking about this because yeah, my best friend, she has a little, what is it? The wiener dog. I guess he
Dachshund.
had to he had infections in his teeth and he had to
Yeah.
get multiple, molars in the back removed. She said it costed her like $3,000 for that procedure. And he's okay now with the medication and everything. I'm
Yeah.
sure now hearing this from you, it would maybe be 100 or a couple $100 at most in Portugal,
Right.
Europe. Wow. And the dental side of things, if we could touch on that in Spain, at least, and I know this is transparent across a lot of European countries, the public normally doesn't cover dental. I
Mhm.
believe there are certain plans that do include dental, but like you would
Yeah.
have to pay a little bit more for public. But I don't even, and my private in Spain does not include dental, but the dental costs are so little. Like I go to this place in Spain called Dentix. It is so cheap. Your first visit, they do x-rays for free and a free consult. They literally do your x-rays and everything for free. And then when you
Wow.
come back the second time, I mean, they'll diagnose you. They'll say, hey, you
Yeah.
have these cavities. We recommend when you come back, we fill the cavities, we do it, and we'll do a cleaning, or we'll do a cleaning and then we'll do the cavities. Okay, if you just do a cleaning, it's anywhere from 30 to like 50 euro. And if you have to get cavity work done, it could be like 50, 60, 70 euro more. So we're talking like 100 to maybe 200 euro to get all that solved. And obviously it depends on how many cavities you all have.
Right.
But for me, it's like, I'm not going to get dental insurance because it's so damn cheap. So I don't know if you've
Well,
had that experience
I,
too in Portugal.
I've been to the dentist and our insurance covers dental.
Okay,
So it
good.
covers some of it. So we paid 21 for a dental cleaning
Okay.
and 21 for whole mouth x-rays. I like a 360-degree machine.
Yes, those are nice.
Yes. And it was amazing. And then I think I had one cavity. I can't remember how much it was, but it was like 20 something.
Yeah, it's
Yes, it's very good. And in fact, dental tourism is very big in Portugal
yeah,
because it's so inexpensive. We have very good care. I
right.
mean, overall, I would say this: European healthcare is excellent.
Yes, I agree.
And if you come armed with your own knowledge, your own history, your own medications, you can get everything taken care of as well as, if not much better, and with an experience of somebody who cares more in Europe.
Yes. Now, can I ask you, for those that do have these pre-existing conditions, like this is a very scary moment to like leave this doctor kind of going in, they're doing the visa process for the
Yep.
D7 or some of these passive income visas in Europe. Do you just like not know who your doctor is and just make the move and just wait till you get there? Or are you recommending people find their doctor first? I mean, what are you seeing people doing? Like, I would
Well,
assume you would just kind of like make the move and immediately get on it when you move there.
yes, I would do that. So there's a couple things in Portugal. I don't know about other countries. There's a health concierge service called Serenity Healthcare,
Okay.
which is absolutely extraordinary. And so with Portugal, the place who we worked with to get us here, they connected us to Serenity. We met with our Serenity nurse. So you get a nurse case manager. We went over our whole history. She made recommendations as far as doctors. She recommended, seeing this person, this person. We talked about what the needs were. And that has been incredibly helpful. And in fact, when we first came, I think I got sick and we did a telemed with their doctor that's on staff with them because we hadn't established a doctor.
Okay.
But what I recommend, and I really recommend this for all people whenever you move anywhere, get all of your medical records, get them on a thumb drive, bring them with you, have a backup somewhere. We went and had we saw all our specialists within 2 months before our move. So we had everything, we knew how we were, which gave us a cushion.
Okay.
And then we brought, a couple months worth of prescription medication and then our prescription. So our first prescription, I think, or two maybe, we got filled with a US prescription.
Okay.
No problem. And then we said, okay, we need a primary doctor. We met with the doctor. We actually changed doctors since then, since the first one, but we did that within, I think that was like our first month, everything else that you're busy doing. To me, that was one of the most important things is I need to establish myself with the doctor. I need to know where I'm going. They need to know who I am. Here's my medical records, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. Got it. And now I know you're working with that like concierge service, which is a healthcare service, which I wish Serenity was in more European countries. I mean, it's such a fabulous idea. And I know Michael, he's great. And he's helping so many people kind of with that transition to Portugal. Same with Portugal, the place. I'm so happy that Colleen connected us together. When you signed up with your private healthcare, the MGN Advanced Care, how soon after were you able to like book doctor's appointments? Is it like an app? Because what I have in Spain, DKV is my insurance.
Uh-huh.
You have an app that tells you based on you type in your zip code, and then it gives you all the phone numbers. You kind of just call in and book your appointment that way. How do you book your appointments as soon as you sign up for private insurance? If you don't
Well,
go with like a concierge service like Serenity.
right. So what we did was, almost all insurance have a 90-day before it kicks in. So we bought our insurance 90 days before we arrived, so it kicked in day one.
Smart. Okay.
And then Serenity is actually the one who made appointments for us.
Nice.
So that's kind of how we did it. Now we're on the COOF system. I have an app and I can book anything, but I didn't know where we were going to land at that point. So I had to trust them. This is the kind of person I want. I want a female. I want somebody who speaks English, et cetera, like that. And so we went to the first doctor, who was fine. But one, I don't like the location. Two, there wasn't as much service. So we moved into the COOF system, which we absolutely love. And
Okay.
we've seen specialists there. We've had, scans, et cetera, through
Wow.
them. And we just do it that way. But Serenity helps. And I wish Michael could, like, I don't know, not franchise it, but have other locations would be extraordinary, because it is a really great concept.
Exactly. I agree. Wow, so cool. And then I have a couple more questions. I know you created a form for everybody that's listening today. There's a free gift in the email that you got this video from, or in this description of the video. So can you kind of talk to us? I know you've shared that with, I believe, Portugal, the place, and
Yeah.
and a lot of other people that are foreigners that are moving abroad. And what is this form? It's kind of like to bring it to your doctor and to help you organize everything. Can you kind of talk us through what that free gift is that you created?
Yeah. So there's the Form Plus, I did how to be a medical advocate, and going through all the systems and just, talking to you. I'm just talking to you. It's like, it's okay to ask this. It's okay to question this, or go in with that, go in with this. So I went through all that first, in terms of procedures, in terms of tests, in terms of medications, veterinary, dental, a lot of medical doctors, everything we've talked about. So I go into a little bit, as a little bit of a booklet. And then the end form is, I went to medical history by system, because that's how doctors operate. And
Medical
so
history by body part system.
by body system. So for example, integumentary, which is skin, hair, nails. And I asked 2 questions, and it's a form, so you can print it out and fill it out. And I recommend 2, that you do it twice. One, you put your whole history there. One, you bring empty so you can make notes when you meet with the doctor. And the doctors have loved it. So I'm going through the systems. I asked 2 questions. One, what is your history? Family history, personal history, skin cancer. I started with skin, so skin cancer, or actinic keratosis, or whatever you've had. And then what are your current concerns or considerations, so that the doctor knows. Otherwise, they're sitting there and they type it in the whole time. Instead, they get this, and our doctor asked us to email it to her so she could just put it in the system afterwards. But they're reading the history, and then you're not in a doctor's office trying to remember, oh gosh, what about this? I left that out. So you're going through your entire system, both from a historical medical history perspective, and what are your concerns, considerations now? So you leave and they write out your prescriptions, all that sort of thing. And at the end, there was two really important things. What medications are you currently taking? What are your prescriptions? And then our doctor loved this. What are the supplements that you use? Because a lot of us take supplements.
Yes.
Now you think, well, what do they need that for? Because some of the supplements don't actually interact well with prescription medication. So it's important for them to know everything that you're taking so they don't make a mistake by giving you something that doesn't interact. Or one of the medications that I'm on, if I take it with iron, it makes the medication not work at all.
Wow. Okay.
So I know that, so I don't take them together.
Mm-hmm.
But you may not know that.
Right.
So it's important for the doctor to know that. And so it will be housed on Portugal the Place for all people that use Portugal the Place, but there'll be this link so you can go and get it. And like I said, I filled it out, we filled it out, and everybody I've given fills it out, hands it to the doctor, sits and goes through it with the doctor.
Wow.
And it's a great way to start out your relationship with your doctor.
And thank you so much for graciously giving that to us. I mean, that's just so valuable, especially because we're just kind of those that are not in this medical space. Like I'm just going off of what I think works. And so having something made by somebody that is in the medical space is amazing. So thank you so much for sharing that with all of us. And then the last question I'm asking every expert is, what's your final secret for those looking to move abroad in the next 12 months?
Do it. Just, it can be daunting when you look at everything there is to take care of. You know, we had to dismantle our house and our life and all the things and our families and all that. And it can be daunting, and people are like, I can't do it. So my advice is to do it and consider it an adventure of a lifetime. One of the things that has made it so great, almost everything that happens, and believe me, I've gone down a street that turned out not to be a street, and I've had to back up on the narrow street with my husband going, turn right there, dip, 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 sweating my brains out, scared out of my mind, to, wow, that was an adventure. You know, we're all going to do things that take a wrong turn, go 20 miles out of your way, say the wrong thing. We're all going to do that. But if you house it for yourself mentally, this is an adventure, then it becomes, oh, look what we discovered by going 20 miles out of our way. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Look at that view. Or I didn't know I could do that. And then you feel triumphant. Wow. I think your attitude when you move here has got to be one of adventure and, you know, discovery, rather than it isn't America. People don't act like they do in America. In Portugal, people say, I'll be there at 3. We call it elastic time.
Yeah.
3 could be 7. But if you get upset about that because you're used to it being this way, you're going to be miserable. If you go, well, isn't that interesting? This culture, they go to lunch for an hour and a half every day. How many of us sat at our desks doing our work, having lunch?
Right. I never do that. I never do that after moving to Europe. I take charge of, this is your time, this is your space to nourish your body, to get outside, to go enjoy the sun and eat your lunch. And that is something I'm so grateful for Europe that taught me that. I thank you so much. And it's just so great to hear that you put in this goal and you guys hit it and you're thriving and you love your life. What do you think is the biggest transformation that's happened to you since moving?
Say more about, what do you mean in terms of a transformation?
Like life transformation. Like, what does your life now look like from?
Well, I retired the end of December. What day is this?
It is.
That's kind of it.
The recording right now is May 21st.
Yeah, but we go, oh, it's Saturday or it's Sunday. We're retired. Every day is Saturday or Sunday. You forget what day it is. So I think the biggest thing is that we eat healthy, but not like, oh my God, I got to eat healthy. It's the food is healthy,
Right.
and we're not stressed, and it's fun. And I've learned so much about different cultures. Like I said, my next door neighbor is German. Actually, 3 neighbors are German, and I've learned about their culture, and I've gotten curious about culture, and I've gotten curious about why things are that way, and oh, that didn't work. And I think it's just a whole different lease on life, honestly.
Yeah.
It's people talk to me and they'll see me and they go, you look like you're aging backwards, which, of course I'm flattered, but I actually think it's because I'm not stressed.
Exactly.
It's wonderful.
Oh, love it. Thank you so much. And just to add, I know some people wanted me to include in here what insurance providers people are going in on in Portugal. I've done some research. I know like Alliance, Fidelidade, Tranquilidade, Multicare, Medis are, and MGen are the top ones, but for the private health insurance company, but MGen is one of the only ones that covers people that are over the age of 70. So
That's right.
MGN might be your only choice in that case. And I just wanted to confirm, is that pretty much true?
Yeah, I think that the 2 biggest ones that I know cover pre-existing are Allianz
Yeah.
and MGen. And we went with MGen because they don't raise, I mean, everybody raises rates every year, but they don't raise you tremendously, and they do continue with you after you turn 70. And I'd like to stay with the same insurance versus change when we get that age.
Right.
And can I give my insurance guy's name? Is that
Oh,
okay?
sure. Go ahead. Yeah.
So we went to a gentleman that was referred to us. His name is Nuno Mendes, and
Okay.
it's Win Insurance, WIN Insurance.
Okay.
And I think it's .pt. And he was so generous with us. And of course, we bought from him, but he really explained this insurance and this is what it does. This is really more of a cost savings plan. And this is what I recommend. And this is why. And then after we got here and we were like, okay, went to the pharmacy and we have this, receipt. How do we do this? They walked us through how do we submit our insurance. So they've been super with us. And I really appreciate that about
So
them.
that's Nuno, and they will kind of walk you through things even after you purchase because he's like your broker.
He is my broker. Yeah,
Oh, nice. And they speak English.
they do.
Okay, so I'll have to get his info from you and maybe I can put it in the description.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, that'd be great.
awesome.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Janet, and for inspiring a lot of us here who, yes, healthcare is one of the biggest things that holds people back from doing this. So I hope you are feeling completely on fire, knowing that you can do this. And we're going to also put Janet's email in there as well as the free gift. And Janet, thank you so much.
You are welcome. Thank you. Thanks for everything you're doing for people. It really makes a difference to have a partner when you're moving.
Yes. Oh, you're welcome.